Hello, my name is Dusty Duprell, and if you're watching this video, chances are that we have something very much in common, and that is we are neighbors. We are part of the same community, and we are impacted by the same company, Sterigenics, and their practice of poisoning the air with ethylene oxide. I'm making this video because 2 weeks ago, I watched a town hall meeting where the president of Sterigenics came to Cobb County.
President of Sterigenics, Phil Macnabbat, to introduce his team.
He was purposely using facts in a way that was misleading.
Thank you all for taking your time out. I want to share a few pieces of data with you.
I saw this man giving little tidbits of truth to move his agenda forward.
And why the facility acts safe and is not doing any harm in the communities.
Just basically, I saw a dishonest person coming to a community that he is poisoning.
The air around the facility should be no different than the air in any other community around Atlanta.
Telling us everything's okay.
We're confident that we are not doing harm and we're not causing cancer, we're not causing breathing illnesses as what's suggested.
The biggest thing we can do to fight is to form well thought out, articulate arguments to the same points that they're going to make. So the main goal of this video is for us to better arm ourselves when we encounter people like the president of Sterigenics, like career politicians, because they're going to use bits of fact and throw it at you and try to convince you that a little bit of emissions is going to be okay for us. There is no level of ethylene oxide being produced by Sterigenics that is safe. Just my background personally, so I give you a peace of mind of who I am. I'm a computer scientist. I'm a former filmmaker. I'm a resident of Smyrna, Georgia, and I'm a fighter. When I see something that's impacting my community, I'm going to do whatever I can to help make a stand and make things right. When we talk about ethylene oxide, it's very closely associated to causing cancers. Well, that is only the very tip of the iceberg of the full health problems exposure to this can cause. The more and more it's studied, the more we realize it takes less and less and less to actually impact a person's health. Almost 7 people out of 1,000, when exposed to ethylene oxide, will develop cancer. It is far more dangerous than just causing cancer, as it has a wide spread of ways it can impact your health. So yes, you may dodge that cancer bullet, but also it causes infertility in both men and women.
I moved here in '94 to Smyrna. My daughter went to this school when it was a high school. She is now infertile.
It causes cataracts, damage to the nervous system, spontaneous abortions, which is insane to think about because we have a governor who made a national name for himself by taking the stance on of abortions. If he really valued unborn life the way he says he does, he would do whatever he can to protect the unborn babies that are impacted by ethylene oxide far beyond the heartbeat to spontaneous miscarriages due to ethylene oxide. So just stop and think about that for a second. A point that he brought up is that the body produces ethylene oxide.
Your body emits ethylene oxide.
So the body does produce ethylene oxide when it burns fat. The caveat to that is it's a threshold. And there's a threshold that the body will sustain as healthy. That doesn't make ethylene oxide safe. That does not make it okay for Sterigenics to pump the atmosphere, to pump our community full of ethylene oxide.
I just want you to know that it is out there in the environment.
When you add additional ethylene oxide into the environment, you are increasing the threshold past the healthy range into what's considered an overdose. And when you do that, you're also increasing the risk of developing one of those serious health conditions, from cancer to miscarriages.
When you breathe ethylene in, as a part of your metabolic process, you exhale ethylene oxide.
That's an invalid argument. It's like saying this, for example. your body produces carbon dioxide. When you breathe out carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide will kill you. Just because you're breathing it out doesn't mean it's safe for you to breathe back in. The argument that your body produces and it exists in nature makes it safe is the most idiotic, insulting argument someone can make, especially standing on stage at a town hall full of people that they are poisoning. His other argument of, oh, there's already background ethylene oxide, we're only contributing a little bit.
Our contribution, modeled by the Georgia EPD of our current facility, adds 0.02 to these ambient environments.
The argument to say just because a toxin exists in the environment and you're only contributing a little bit more to that, so it's okay, is on lines with an argument that a child would make. If your friends jumped off a bridge, would you also jump off the bridge? No, because you have a brain.
And compared to the ambient air, this is a small addition to the ambient air.
If people are pumping ethylene oxide into the environment, it's causing cancers. If you just pump a little bit in, does that make it okay? No.
There is a feeling of zero is the only answer. I know that and I hear that, but
I'm going to use this analogy a lot because it's like the only one that really makes sense to me. Ethylene oxide is like Russian roulette. So Russian roulette is like obviously the game where you put one bullet in the gun, you have 6 chambers, you spin it, and we know how the rest of it goes. So adding additional chambers to that gun doesn't make Russian roulette any more safe and less deadly. It's still going to kill you eventually. At the very end of the day, it is a toxic gas. No one should be pumping that into a community.
And the calculation is that diesel trucks add 3,400 pounds of ethylene oxide annually to the environment.
That has not actually been proven and is very, very much up for debate. And if you watch the video of the independent research that we've done, they've kind of concluded the same thing, that it's very inconclusive and very unlikely.
Regulatory levels and some of our proposals to do even better than that.
The president kept coming back to his charter of, oh, we're here to save lives. We can't shut the plant down because we need to save lives.
Sterigenics and its mission in life. Our mission is to protect people.
You can't save lives at the cost of other lives. That makes you a hypocrite, full of crap and only after money. Now let's talk about the statement of, we do our own self-monitoring. We are scrubbing and providing emissions control that is far beyond what's regulated by the government.
If you go by the regulatory standard, 99% of what we handle would be an air permit to emit 4,000 pounds, and we emitted 200 last year.
And that is such a BS statement because, let me tell you why. In 2001, Sterigenics did not come close to meet the guidelines for clean air, the EPA regulations around what qualifies as clean air emissions for a company producing ethylene oxide. So they did the only reasonable thing they could do. They lobbied the Bush administration to change the regulations and loosen it up. So now that they lobbied for a change in regulation around clean air, they're falling well within the range. Okay, so let's just talk on the subject of sampling to begin with and regulations and like all the BS that he's feeding you. So they're very much aware that they're being sampled. So what's the best way to improve those samples results? Quit production. Let's say they do the sampling again and they're clearly going to find that there is an increased level of ethylene oxide in the environment. But they say it's just a little bit and that's not really going to hurt you. And there is some truth to that. A little bit won't kill you unless you're exposed to it over a long period of time. Let's say unless you're exposed to it as a resident living next to a factory that's pumping it out. That comes back to our original thesis of there is no level of ethylene oxide that is safe. There is no reason for this company to be pumping this into an urban area. And I'm not saying shut the business down. I'm saying move the business away from an urban area. I don't want to go too much more into it, but like everybody's aware that state of Illinois has ordered them to stop producing ethylene oxide. So there is a standard precedence that this stuff will kill you. It's a danger to the community, and it has no place in an urban community. Any argument to the counter of that from Sterigenics is we're going to do a better job of cleaning it will never be good enough as long as you're emitting any kind of ethylene oxide in the atmosphere. Finally, game plan. How do we move forward? Elected officials, and luckily we have one person in our corner fighting for us.
Good evening, everybody. My name is State Senator Jen Jordan, and I represent this area.
Who is out there actually fighting for us in a very honest way that isn't using politics to make some kind of grand stance.
To be quite frank, there are a lot of unanswered questions that I have that I still haven't gotten a straight answer from anybody, to be quite frank.
We need to stay mad. We can't bend to Sterigenics' expectation that we're just going to die out and forget everything that's happened and just accept that we are going to have to jeopardize our health for the benefit of a company. It's not going to happen. So stay angry, stay protesting, stay on the fight, stay on this message board that aren't going to tire and that are going to keep fighting until Sterigenics is out of our community. That's my spiel. I want to do more videos that are more informative, but I just after all of what I've seen on social media, I need to get that off my chest. So I hope that is helpful, and I hope